My amplified unit, welcome to the Amped Up Podcast with BC Amplified for Wednesday, May the 24th, 2023, where we have a packed, stacked, jacked show for you today. Of course, the first order of business for my amplified unit, my entire red team, go! And my channel members who should have your gold cards activated, the first order of business, smash that up on your way in. Deliver some sweet chin music, maybe a sharpshooter to that damn like button, man. Cobra clutch, maybe a leg drop. But smash that shit. Help out the algorithm. BC truly appreciates that. When I say we have a packed, stacked, and jacked show, it is because we are going to talk more Nick Khan, WWE CEO. And this dude keeps chirping as of late. He keeps talking the talk. And now, not only are we talking SmackDown possibly moving nights to even Amazon Prime, of all places. We've been talking about Raw possibly moving nights. Now we're talking about the third hour of Raw possibly going to an extreme. We'll talk all about it coming up. And we'll talk about a third hour of SmackDown. What could these people possibly be thinking? Tell me there's any level of common sense and logic. Well, I understand the business behind it. But if you think this is going to help your product long term, look at the Monday Night Raw model. Wait till you guys hear the Monday Night Raw rating this week, and you can blame it on LeBron James and the NBA and the Lakers facing adversity, struggle, and being eliminated all you want. BC has been seeing this decline over the weeks, months, and years. It takes a long time to reach a 1.6 without any NFL competition. It's way worse than NBA playoffs, guys, when you hit a 1.6 as a go-home show to a pay-per-view just a month removed from WrestleMania when you garnered 500,000 extra casual fans. We're going to talk all about it. And now they're talking about a third hour of SmackDown. You can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. This is literally what Nick Khan is talking about. We're going to discuss all of it in this very amped up podcast. You can tell I'm already amped up. I don't have a coffee in front of me because right before we started filming, I downed the last half of the coffee I had from the fine folks at Dunkin' Donuts, which means now I'm fully amplified, down in that shit like Popeye down spinach. So we're going to be very amplified during this podcast, and immediately when it's over, I'm going to double fist some more coffees. The fine folks at Starbucks are going to make me a double shot vanilla latte, and the fine folks at Dunkin' Donuts are going to give me a double shot large. Extra amplification on top. So you're damn right this is going to be a packed, stacked, jacked, amped up podcast. We're going to talk all about the developments going on. Nick Khan, it is clear they are seeking big revenue, and they are willing to give the networks whatever they want as long as they meet the price tag. They'll change the format of the hours. They'll add hours on top of it. They'll move the shows to different nights. Nick Khan is telling you we will pimp ourselves out for the right price. Also, check this out, man. You talk about a big podcast today. BC is going to do something I haven't done in a long time. NXT review from last night, NXT 5/23/2023, heading into their big pay-per-view / premium live event, Battleground, which is this Sunday from Lowell, Massachusetts. They're going head-to-head, same night, same time slot as AEW Battleground. Now, I put up a poll in a recent live stream, and you guys are absolutely amazing, man. The last couple of streams we did especially, you guys brought it to the next level. And I asked you guys, what do you want me to do live? If I'm able to do a live stream Sunday night, AEW or NXT, because I definitely am going to try to do Saturdays. Saudi Arabia, Night of Champions. I'm going to try to do that live, the good, the bad, and the ugly, this weekend, this Saturday. Sunday night, head-to-head collision, no pun intended, AEW versus NXT. I kind of want to do one of them live. And you guys recently did a poll that I put out on a live stream, on a live amped up podcast. You guys informed BC you want NXT Battleground live. Now, don't worry, AEW diehard, true diehard fans of AEW that want me to talk about Double or Nothing. The next morning on Monday, I hope to do that. But my amplified unit spoke out loud, and they want NXT. So if I'm able to do that, I gotta brush off all the dust, polish myself off, get back used to the NXT product. I'm not able to really watch NXT on Tuesday nights all the time. Tuesday night is a very busy night for BC for extracurricular activities, other actual business that I have to take care of. So last night I made it a point. I did my due diligence. I took down my notes. I watched it from top to bottom. Most of it anyway. Maybe I blinked a time or two. Maybe I had to take a quick business call. But I have the amped up NXT review from last night heading into Battleground. Wait till you hear my vivid, candid, amplified thoughts on that. So there's no more time to really waste. The only thing left to do now, if I want more coffee, I'm going to have to do this amped up podcast to the most amplified of measurements, man. Give you guys exactly what you deserve. BC at his very best. Hopefully, fucking put all of this coffee energy out into this podcast, so I'll be ready to go for the next set of coffees. How's that? It's odd doing a podcast without a coffee is what I'm trying to say, man. I'm staring at a bottle of fucking water. I don't know why I downed that son of a bitch right before we started filming. It just tasted good. I was in the moment. I was feeling it. I was already pre-amplified from the Starbucks an hour ago. Fuck, man. So that Dunkin' went down smooth. Anyway, you guys are the beneficiaries. You get an extra amped up BC for this podcast. Let's get into it, man. Nick Khan. Now, I don't want to rehash everything we've talked about for the past several podcasts. We've been talking about Monday Night Raw possibly moving nights because Nick Khan said he's willing to do it. As long as the price is right, and it doesn't even look like it's going to be NBC Universal, Comcast, which runs USA Network, obviously, because it doesn't look like USA Network is really going to match what they want, at least not preliminary anyway. Up front, it looks like Nick Khan is ready to shop Monday Night Raw around. SmackDown is even more of a dire situation, where Fox is telling you they are not going to meet a substantial rights fees increase if Nick Khan pressures them to do such, is ushering this wave of thinking, right? Fox does not want to meet any demands on a substantial increase in revenue that they're going to have to fork over. So Nick Khan has said, all right, we're not going to play the game with you if you're already going to say shit like that. We're going to shop around already. And the exclusive talks, there's a window where you can exclusively talk to one another. Nobody else can jump in. In other words, Fox gets the first rights with the WWE to talk about a new deal in 2024, September 2024. And the exclusive window lapsed. Fox never made an effort to talk to WWE, and WWE never made an effort to talk to Fox, and the window expired. So now Amazon can crawl in and start talking with WWE. Disney, if they wanted to, could start talking to WWE. Fox can't do a damn thing. Although there is the partnership with Disney and Fox. But you get the point. Anybody can come on in, man. Warner Discovery, if they wanted to, could come in and start talking. So, I mean, this shows you how dire the situation is. And then you start hearing Nick Khan praise Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime does need a weekend slot. They're filling their lineup during the week. Wednesdays and Fridays alternating with baseball. For instance, my Yankees, no longer just the Yes Network. Amazon Prime is where you have to go watch the Yankees occasionally, Wednesdays or Fridays. Thursdays, NFL football package will be on Thursdays. They're trying to get the NBA for Mondays or Tuesdays. And of course, Raw would either be on one of those days, so that only leaves the weekend if it goes on Amazon Prime. I doubt they're going to do Sundays, even though they're trying to put more premium live events on Saturdays for stadium shows. But Sunday is still the day where they get the highest peaks. Unless they're really pumping up a stadium show. Sunday is the day for premium live event pay-per-views. They've always known that. That's why you've always got them on Sundays. If it comes down to a split, 50-50, you got to make a decision. I think WWE would stick with Sunday, and then Saturday would go head-to-head. SmackDown would go head-to-head with Collision from AEW. Which, by the way, side note, before we get back to that, CM Punk, they are working things out. They're about 99% sure of stroking Phil Brooks' ego. It does look like Brooks is going to make it to the first Collision, and the announcement tonight will be Chicago, and that's how you know they finalized the deal with Punk. This headache is so... I actually feel bad for Tony Khan. It's no longer us just yelling at Tony Khan to get his fucking balls attached and stand up to his wrestlers and be a boss, and he should not be held hostage by the actual talent. But at this point, I just feel bad for him. I mean, the guy really, I do believe he is trying to do best, or at least good for pro wrestling, and CM Punk is just a one-man machine out for himself. He's always been that way. Maybe a couple of friends, you know, he'll look out for them. Ace Steel, right? Maybe Samoa Joe, like he wants Ace Steel to work with him. He wants Samoa Joe to be his first big feud, or at least one of them. You know, you can't just work with your friends all the time, man. You got to do proper business. It's not all about you. I feel bad for Tony Khan, but it does look like they're in the process of smoothing Phil Brooks' newest issues and problems out. This guy he wakes up pissed off at the world. Just wakes up, just wants to pick fucking fights with anything or find a fucking reason. They're giving him the moon in the world, a second chance in AEW after the stunt he pulled that all out. And he's like, now I want Ace Steel to do this, and this, and then I want my family members to be in production. Every other event should be in Chicago. I mean, when does it end, bro? You can't just make all these demands and expect Tony Khan to meet them all the time. You have to give and take. It's business. And it's clear that Punk is just not a good businessman. He's just out for himself. That's it. And it doesn't work out right. One of my favorite wrestlers in the world was the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig. And he tried to conduct business the same way, and all it led him to was firing after firing after firing, burnt bridge after burnt bridge after burnt bridge, until when he was unfortunately gone from the world, there's a lot of just there's a bad reputation that still is subsided. There's still a lot of people just don't speak so positively. And as much as I loved Warrior, a lot of that was justified. He did not help himself, and a lot of the ways that he conducted business was not proper. Unfortunately, we don't learn from our history, and if that's the case, history is just deemed to repeat itself. So that's a little side note. But SmackDown, my point is SmackDown could easily be head-to-head with Collision in the near future if Amazon Prime gets a hold of SmackDown. So all of this, I didn't want to rehash it too much, but I had to set you guys up for what the big news is today. And Nick Khan keeps chirping, keeps talking, and the newest and new statement from Nick Khan about SmackDown. First of all, let me give you an appetizer about Monday Night Raw. And wait till you hear the rating for Raw. I'm going to give you guys that in a little bit. Maybe a minute, maybe 10 minutes. You know, BC, once I start talking about pro wrestling, just put the earbuds in, go about your day. I could be here an hour, 2, 5 hours. You never know. But Nick Khan says this about Monday Night Raw. We are very open to discussions on the formatting of the third hour, which includes and entails more adult theming / content. So he's talking about being willing, and discussions were had to make the third hour more adult oriented. How do you do that in 2023? If the first 2 hours are cookie cutter, random Paul Levesque, Pinocchio, Schnoz McGee, BS shit, right? Just cookie cutter as they come. And then the third hour, all of a sudden everybody starts getting buck wild. Everybody is down their coffee. The ladies start fucking stripping down the bra and panties. The fucking dudes start chasing people around with chainsaws. The tables all of a sudden start flaming again. What do we do? What are we talking about? That's what BC's trying to say, is what are we talking about? How are you going to make the third hour more adult-themed when the first 2 hours were fucking kiddie-oriented? So, eye of the beholder, does something need to change? No doubt. The third hour has always been a struggle for WWE, especially Paul Levesque, Pinocchio himself. Levesque, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, said himself in many interviews, the third hour he cannot get a grasp on. The third hour just derails him creatively. Well, after seeing months of Paul Levesque's work, every fucking minute of his Monday Night Raws are creatively a dumpster fire. SmackDown, not much. Barely. Just a tad better. And I mean barely. Paul Levesque's WWE most of the time is worse than Vinnie Mac's WWE, and I didn't think that was possible. Levesque doesn't have creativity anymore. He had a few good years in NXT, and that's because he had the right people around him, and the candle burnt out fast. Anybody can go out there. Basketball, we've seen it with Jeremy Lin. That's right, that's Jeremy Lin for the New York Knicks. Remember? He was the fire. He was the talk of the town in New York, man. He was the hottest NBA player in the league. He could not miss. And in a year, it was over. And Jeremy Lin went to another team, got a big payday. You never really heard from him again. He was never the same. He was never the best player. You have these players that come into these sports, and yeah, they rock out for a year, 2 years, maybe 3, 4 years. They rock out, man. You think they're going to have a 20-year masterpiece career, masterclass. Every time they're performing, it's a masterclass 101 session. And unfortunately, a lot of these athletes, they burn out quick. Well, creatively for Paul Levesque, it's like the same thing. He had a few good years NXT, the black and gold, it revived wrestling, and then he started to go off the rails a bit. Paul Levesque's NXT started to go a little bit in a different way that we weren't familiar with. Then AEW's Tony Khan started whooping his ass, and Paul Levesque panicked. And then he started doing really weird shit. Then Vince McMahon had to get involved because he was like, listen, we were never making money anyway with NXT, but now you're really going in the opposite way, and USA Network is pissed. So they finally had to just switch the fucking nights. Paul Levesque ended up getting into a hospital bed. His fucking ticker started to malfunction. That's how badly he got his ass whooped by Tony Khan. You felt bad for the dude. Now he comes back and he takes on an even bigger task, and it's clear he's over. He stepped over the boundary on this one. He thought he could do it, and he cannot. I'm not saying that Vince McMahon, by the way, is not involved creatively with a bunch of shit. But a lot of what you're seeing, for instance, on Monday night, it was clear that was a Paul Levesque show, right? We all know that. Look at the matches like Bronson Reed versus Ricochet, and they gave them time to actually wrestle. Vince wouldn't have done that. Look at the backstage brawl with Brock and Cody, and then they continue it in the ring with a separate segment with Brock killing Cody. That's Paul Levesque booking, right? The problem is we still don't have an answer for this. Paul Levesque is a big reason why Cody never won at WrestleMania Night 2, and Paul Levesque felt like we didn't need a reason for Brock to attack Cody, and because of that, this story is flat on its face. It should be good. I like beatdown segments. But because the story never had purpose or reason, the story never got off the ground, right? It's like a car that doesn't have an engine, or today in 2023, a car that doesn't have the fucking battery. Is that better for some of you? Riding around on a fucking battery. You unplugged your fucking phone battery and you jumped on that shit and rode it to work. The point is, if your car doesn't have the engine, your car's not going anywhere. Okay, if your story doesn't have reasoning and purpose, your story is not going anywhere. Paul Levesque was the reason that the whole Austin Theory thing went down the way that it did, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the middle of a Monday Night Raw for the United States Championship, the mid-card title, during a mid-card United States Open Challenge. He didn't even have to cash in on it. He could have done the Open Challenge. And then, if that wasn't worse enough, the next week, he says the reasoning is because I was never going to beat Roman and I don't want to do that. And then a few months later, he says, I want to join the Royal Rumble so I can earn a right to face Roman for the World Championship. You just said you didn't want that opportunity. That's why you cashed in with the mid-card. Now you want to jump in the Rumble, face 29 dudes to earn the same thing you said you didn't want? Nothing makes sense under Paul Levesque. Nothing makes sense under Paul Levesque. And then you see Monday with the Cody Brock beatdown segments. That was obviously Paul Levesque. The Ricochet Bronson and those type of matches, that was obviously Levesque. In fact, the night ended with the Levesque himself putting himself on camera and being Papa H. That's the role he loves to play backstage. He likes to act like he's everybody's father figure because he saw everybody act like that around Vince. And of course, he just wants to be somebody else. He wants to be Vince McMahon. Paul Levesque wants to be Tony Khan. Everything Tony Khan does, Paul Levesque copies it. We say it all the time on this channel, right? The themed Wednesday night shows, when he started doing those, Levesque started to do them more and more on NXT. When Tony Khan did the media scrums after pay-per-views, what the heck? Tell me what Pinocchio is doing now after big pay-per-views. He's doing media scrums. Well, who did that first? You got to give Tony Khan that, man. That's a carbon copy. And then, of course, you do the big announcements that Tony is famous or infamous for. And then who made 3 big announcements in the last month and a half? Paul Levesque. Everything Tony Khan does, that ass whooping that he took from Tony Khan, man, that just has not left him. And he really, I don't know, maybe he idolizes Tony Khan now, like he does Vincent Kennedy. I have no idea. But this Monday Night Raw was a Paul Levesque production. And it's clear that this Monday Night Raw was one of the worst we've all seen. Most of us, anyway. We did a live review, and you guys were in full confirmation mode of exactly how I felt. You guys were in full agreement that this show fell flatter than most Monday Night Raws, to the point where BC actually had to change the channel during the main event because that main event just made me nauseous. We waited 3 hours to watch Scooter McGee tag up with Zayn and Owens to take on Imperium. What? What does this even have to do with Backlash? It made me nauseous to the point where I flipped the channel, and not to the NBA. I literally switched to some financial vids that I watch on this very platform. So the point is that Paul Levesque has already said, right? My long-winded response here to Paul Levesque saying that he just can't get a grasp on the 3rd hour, and it's derailing the show. The whole show is fucking horrible under Paul Levesque, just like it was with Vince, by the way. But this is just a different way of horrible. It's a different vibe. You can tell it's H's blueprint, but he just doesn't know how to do it correctly, or at least not anymore. So now the 3rd hour, he says, is what derails the whole show and really sucks the creativity out of him. No, it's the whole fucking show. But let's take Pinocchio's word for it. Let's say Pinocchio is telling the truth, so his nose is not going to grow an extra heartbeat. It's not going to grow an extra centimeter or half an inch. No, he's telling the truth. The 3rd hour is so hard to write on Monday Night Raw. Well, what the fuck is a 3rd hour on SmackDown gonna give ya? Because that's what Nicholas Khan, the CEO of WWE, is telling us. They're absolutely willing to do the 3rd hour. I'll give you guys a quote. This is what Nick Khan said. This is a quote. "We're still open to a 3rd hour of SmackDown. Still open." That tells you these discussions have been taking place as long as the talks with moving SmackDown to a different night, most likely. We're still open to a 3rd hour of SmackDown. And he alludes that the deal they made with Fox several years ago for the 2-hour primetime SmackDown show, now that's starting to fall to the wayside as big-time players, that was a quote that he used, big-time players like Amazon are now looking into the programming to bolster up their weekly roster of shows. So that, I mean, he keeps talking Amazon. These are his words, man. I cannot tell you, in the last 5 interviews that I've heard of Nick Khan, he cannot praise them enough. Something's happening with Amazon, man. If they don't get SmackDown, something is going there. As long as it's approved by Endeavor, which if the money's right and they don't want to do their own type of streaming service, that looks to be where they're going, man. We're still open to the 3rd hour of SmackDown. And Nick Khan says it's really about how the discussions go with who those discussions are had with. It's what I told you in the teaser cold open. They're willing to pimp themselves out for the right price. This is just greed at its finest. And I don't mean that in a good way, by the way. This is greed at its most amplified of measures. And you say, well, BC, that's ruthless business, man. That's how they're recording record revenue every quarter. I totally get it. I'm questioning the longevity of how long does this last. It seems like a company, and I said this a year ago, and I still say this. I said it seems like a company that's just liquidating. They're trying to suck out the biggest revenue they can from the biggest sources like streaming services, right? Amazon Prime, Peacock, TV deals like Fox or NBC Universal, Saudi Arabia, big countries that are willing to pay you tens of millions of dollars for your roster for the night. They do that. They make over $100 million a year. That's a multi-year deal. That'll end up probably being renewed. Who knows? They'll make $1 billion off of that. The fans, they don't care about us anymore. That's why you go and you buy a t-shirt on WWEshop.com. A lot of times they're giving you a free shirt. Buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one for $1, right? That'll pay off some of the shipping maybe. That's why you're saying our money is fucking peanuts. Peanuts. They don't give a shit. They don't even care if you show up to the arena anymore. You buy your $50, $100 ticket, they're going to pipe in fake crowd noise. So even if the arena's not filled, they'll put boos in there. They'll chirp in the cheers. Even if the arena is filled, they're going to fake in the crowd noise. They don't care about us anymore. They're liquidating with the big boys. They're paying with the big financial revenues now, man. We, nothing. We're absolutely... We're non-existent to them, basically. A big part of me believes that they love the Thunderdome because they could manipulate every single aspect of their production. And that's why I say they've been liquidating everything that they've built up for decades, and now they're just pimping it out. And I told you guys, man, man, how spot on was BC months ago when I started really talking about liquidating. And the problem is that once the ratings go back far enough, once business is not as hot as it once was, just the financials are, no doubt, because these companies are willing to pay top dollar to bring live entertainment, live sports entertainment, right? Especially coming out of the pandemic. But I told you guys, if numbers start falling to the wayside, when people start leaving the product by the droves, when word of mouth is that this company in particular, WWE, is just, it sucks lately. When that starts happening, the next deals either will be a lot less or not even existent. I told you guys that. And look, it's already happening. Fox, for instance, is saying, no, the numbers are not there for us to do bigger business with you. We might renew, but it's not going to be a substantial increase. That's what Fox is telling you. And they're saying that for a reason, guys. They're obviously not happy with the growth. In fact, if you look at SmackDown around WrestleMania, 2.6 they hit. Now, going into this next premium live event, they're barely getting 2.0. I think they got a 2.03 this past week. So they're about to get into the 1.9s. You're going to start talking about Monday Night Raw's pathetic numbers, right? And that's why Fox is like, hold up, you're not worthy of a bigger deal for the next rights fees. BC told you that was going to happen, man. When the numbers go back far enough and the company doesn't feel like they can liquidate anymore, they're hitting a wall, they're going to come crawling back to the fans. What happens when we're not there anymore? That's what you're starting to see. Monday Night Raw's rating. You guys ready for this? Monday Night Raw garnered, or I guess you should say failed to garner anything of substantial backing for anybody to speak positively about. They garnered, or lack thereof, a 1.63 this week. 1.63. You say basketball, BC. It was Lakers. They were facing adversity. They were in the playoffs, and they were about to be eliminated, BC. And it was this LeBron. If you think a 1.6 was pulled because of a basketball game, I don't care if it's the playoffs, the championship, or the last basketball game to ever be played. If you think that 1.6 was because of that basketball game, you have not been paying attention to the numbers. Maybe you're one of those people that go, ratings don't matter. But you know what BC knows? They matter more than ever before. Ratings When you watch them, when just a few years ago, you were well over 2.0. Right? Even with basketball games, you go back 4 or 5 years ago, you're well over 2.0. You're talking 2.2s, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Right? Even with basketball. Now you're sitting at a 1.6. This has been a long time coming, guys, is what I'm saying. This has been weeks, months, years of fans saying, this shit sucks, I'm no longer watching. Sometimes it was just a little bit by the week. Sometimes it was in droves. But we have been seeing this decline over the years, and it's much more than just cord cutting, guys. It's more than presidential speeches or holidays or playoffs, even Monday Night Football. It's bigger than that. The amount of people that have been leaving and not coming back, there's no more FOMO, fear of missing out. They can miss several weeks, and they're like, nothing happened to me. I didn't turn into pixie dust. I didn't disappear. I'm good. I can miss Raw, and I don't miss anything. In fact, I can tune in 4 months later, and it's the same bullshit. The same rematches, the same fucking storylines with nothing intriguing me to tune in next week. My point is, this has been long in the making, man. This has been happening over time, slowly but surely at times, and real at an accelerated pace a lot of other times. The reason you pulled a 1.6 has nothing to do with Lakers, LeBron, or basketball, guys. The reason that Raw pulled in a 1.6 this week with a go-home show to their next pay-per-view, which is just in a couple days, Saturday. 3 days. Go-home show, and they pulled a 1.6 right out of WrestleMania, which was just a month ago. The reason they pulled a 1.6 is because the shows have sucked for weeks, months, and years, and we've gotten to this place gradually over time to where you have an NBA playoff game, and you are going to be nowhere near 2 million going into a pay-per-view. Even if I gave you 100,000 fans, 100,000 that chose to watch the basketball game and not WWE Raw going into a pay-per-view, Cody and Brock, you're hoping it's a huge, awesome storyline, and you're going to get all the latest details going into the pay-per-view, and 100,000 people said no thanks. And guys, when I say ratings matter, what we're seeing on the quarterlies, the upfront quarterlies anyway, is that the fans are not even tuning in during the commercial breaks during basketball, or Big Bang Theory, or Law & Order SVU, or whatever else they're watching. Boy Meets World, Saved by the Bell, 90210 Beverly Hills, Breaking Bad, old episodes of Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. It doesn't matter. They're not flicking back during commercial breaks. At least bare minimum, you want them to do that, and you hope you can captivate them when they do. That greatly helps the quarterlies, guys. What we are seeing in the ratings is they don't even care to flip back and forth during commercials. They just don't have any appetite, no desire, no need to tune into Raw. And that's what you're seeing in the ratings. A 1.6. And now what happens, guys, I've said this a million times, what happens is when there's no basketball and there's no football like there hasn't been, no hockey, no nothing, now they have to dig out of that hole even harder now. The hole is deeper, and you're going to have to work harder. And I'm saying just to get back to a 1.8, 1.9, maybe? But what I was saying is even if I give you 100,000 viewers that literally did not tune in to an ounce of Raw, 100,000 people that said they don't even fucking need to tune into an ounce of it, because that's what we're seeing. Even if I gave you 100,000 and said, okay, that's because of the playoffs, that would still put WWE at a 1.73. Do you want 150,000 people that chose not to tune into Raw at all? For the 150, that would put him at a 1.78. Do you want 200,000 fans? That would put him at a 1.83. You still would be nowhere near where you should be. You're fucking around with 1.7s and 1.8s without NFL football. Because that would be your peak. You're still nowhere near 2 without football. I hope you guys are understanding. I keep track of these trajectories. That's why I'm so passionate about this. I really want people to understand that this isn't just about a presidential speech or a holiday or a big game. It's worse than that. If this was just 1 week that the rating got dented up because of a game, right? A big playoff game. I get it. And you know a game is going to dent them a little bit. Presidential speech, holiday, it'll dent up the ratings. You're expecting that. If the show is being the best it can be consistently, you ain't going to worry about it. You're going to shake it off. You're still going to pull in a really good number, and you're going to come back better than ever the next week. What we're seeing is that's not happening. The ratings are drastically in the shits, and the next week they just get worse. With or without competition. And I can prove it. Last week, no basketball on Monday night. They pulled a 1.7 sem odd. No football. No basketball playoffs. 1.7 sem odd. So there's more proof. I know most of you guys are taking my word for it anyway, because you know I do my due diligence and research. But just in case you needed more of an example, last week, 1.7 sem odd. I'm trying to tell you guys, it's more than that, man. It's a bigger problem. It's been bad for so long that this 1.6 was inevitable. And I told you guys months ago, it's going to get even worse if they don't fix this shit. They're going into the 1.5s. And if you lose 30 some odd more thousand and you're in the 1.5s, do you realize that Dynamite debuted at a 1.4? Do you realize that you're basically right there with the AEW Dynamite debut? Now, Dynamite has not helped themselves either, man. AEW has fallen off to the wayside, and they're only pulling in half of their audience now. 700,000 for Dynamite. 700,000 to 800,000 is their new normal. That's literally half of the 1.4. Literally, half of 1.4 is 700,000. That's what they've been getting, 7 to 8. So AEW has absolutely fallen to the wayside. But I've always said that if WWE is doing really good, the whole industry profits from it. When WWE is doing really bad, the whole industry suffers from it. So I'm not... AEW should not be dependent on WWE, but I absolutely believe that WWE's failings, WWE's issues, WWE's stubbornness and incorporateness, there you go, that's a new one, inability to cooperate, there you go, I'll restructure that, inability to cooperate and do things more properly so that we all get a better product and the wrestlers get better booking so the company gets a better reception from everybody involved. Instead of doing that, they decide to stay stuck in their ways and be absolutely belligerent, negligent, and reckless with their product. And AEW... Impact Wrestling, the local bingo hall down the block, the local armory, wherever you guys are that puts on independent wrestling shows, they're going to suffer even. So you're seeing a little bit of that, man. It's a trickle-down effect. When WWE sucks, you see just the air gets sucked out of the pro wrestling world. And ever since WrestleMania Night 2 with that Cody decision, that Cody botch, not having him walk out the title and letting Roman just go home for a month and a half and sip martinis with the titles, the feud with Brock and Cody making no sense, and we're going to draw it out for 3 months, a story that literally doesn't have a story. It doesn't have a purpose. It doesn't have a reason, and the company doesn't even care to give us a fucking reason. And then they wonder why half the fucking crowd at least can't get behind this. This is a bigger issue, guys. Raw pulls in a 1.6. That third hour is not helping. And I believe Paul Levesque, the one thing he says that is truthful, he doesn't have a grasp on the third hour. What he is not being truthful is that he also doesn't have a grasp on hour 2 or hour 1. Paul Levesque is lost. Paul Levesque is confused. A WWE will be better without Paul Levesque as head of creative. And same with Vince. Live happy lives, do other things in WWE, that's fine. But Vincent Kennedy McMahon and Paul Levesque, the old bastard in Stanford Vinnie Mac, and Pinocchio Schnoz McGee should have nothing to do with creative. It is clear. They're lost. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. So now adding a third hour to SmackDown, what does that solve? What does that do? How is that going to improve your product when you are currently in discussions to have the third hour of Raw reformatted because you know it fucking sucks, it's horrible. Let's make it more adult themed. Yeah, maybe I will be down with that if you do it correctly. But the fact that you even have to do that should tell you something. Maybe you shouldn't put a third hour on the SmackDown. I don't see how that's going to help your company. But Nick Khan and everybody else in that company is blinded by greed right now. They're just seeing dollar signs. They're, as I said months ago, they're still liquidating. It's a long process, but they're still in the process of liquidating. And that's exactly what they're doing. And they're not going to stop. And BC told you, when the viewers start to leave in droves, these big companies, these streaming services, these cable companies, they're not going to give you all the money that you want because the ratings aren't there anymore. Sure enough, Fox is the first big player to say not so fast. That pissed off Nick Khan. Now, Nick Khan, maybe he's using Amazon Prime as leverage, just really pumping up their name so Fox gets scared and Fox has to offer him a boatload of more money, a boatload more money. Who knows what kind of financial chess they're playing here? I mean, these are greedy bastards in that company. You say ruthless business, BC, it's how you gotta be. Well, sort of. If you're not careful, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. This is still a marathon, not a sprint. Get the best deals imaginable. But don't forget about the fans. Don't forget to give us a good product week in and week out, show in and show out, because we will no longer show up. And when that happens, the Foxes and everybody else will turn their backs on you. Who's left to give you those billion-dollar deals, guys? Nobody. When you liquidate, that's great for you up front. While they're liquidating, they're going to be reporting record revenue like they have been the whole last 2 years. Eventually, when you liquidate, you end up having nothing left. That's why I call this liquidating. They're going to reach the wall. They're going to hit that brick wall, and they're going to have nobody left in their corner. They're going to crawl back to the fans. Who's going to be left? The real tried and trues, the ones that stick their tribalistic WWE flag in the lawn, they'll be there. Maybe you'll have the people like BC who tune in out of habit and hope every Monday and Friday, right? Hoping it gets better habit because we've been doing it since we were kids watching on Monday nights. But who's going to be left? So you're going to put a third hour on SmackDown if whoever buys the rights, gets the rights, wants to do that. You're not even going to argue. You got it. More money, please. All right, man. All right, if that's what we're doing. I wish, this is where I say as long as they know what they're doing, we'll see. I can't even say that. It's clear they don't. You'll get a third hour of the worst fucking pro wrestling like we see on Monday night. You'll just get another hour of that. It'll actually dilute the value of SmackDown. It will devalue what was once good in the blue brand. Just giving you guys a heads up. There is real talks. I gave you guys a quoted comment from Nick Khan, the CEO of WWE himself. There is talks not just to change the third hour of Raw, but to add a third hour to SmackDown. So you could possibly get SmackDown on a new night, on a new provider, with a third hour. I just don't see how it helps business. Guys, moving on. That was a lot to talk about, man. We went... wow, well over half an hour in that discussion alone. I think what I'll do is I'll go into the NXT review. I haven't done one of these in a while. I had to dust myself up, polish myself off, and we'll see if I could do this, bro. All right, had to make sure I got my notes here, man. I told you, I watched vividly last night. I took my notes. I refreshed. I don't get to watch NXT as I would like to on Tuesday night. Tuesday night is a real busy night for me, guys. It's just the way that it ends up being. Especially when I dedicate my Monday nights over to Raw. I try to on Fridays. A lot of times, sometimes I do have to watch some segments afterwards, but I watch vividly to make sure that it's flowing in my notes. I get a gist of the show. But Tuesday nights, just like Wednesday, they're just really busy. But what I saw last night is exactly what a lot of you guys tell me all the time. My right-hand man, JR9 Gaming, and so many of you guys, to the point where I just put up a poll, as I said in the cold open. I put up a poll saying if I do a live stream on Sunday night, one of the pay-per-views that are clashing against one another, AEW Double or Nothing or NXT Battleground, I put up a poll and said, which one do you guys want me to view? I thought for sure AEW was going to win out. And that kind of sucks because I was thinking about doing NXT, and doing Double or Nothing, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly the next day, because that might be a little longer. So it would just help out BC. But I was like, hey, if you guys say AEW, then I have to. But you guys actually overwhelmingly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, picked NXT for me to review. So it's clear that a lot of the Amplified unit is really behind NXT. So it was really cool for me to do this. And I said, if I'm going to do a live stream of Battleground NXT Sunday, then I want to be just up to date, man. I want to be totally refreshed on everything about the product, or as much as I can, before now and then. There were some names on this show that I haven't seen in a while. There were some names, some people that I saw on this show that I just don't know a lot about. Whether it was just grade A players with lines backstage, or just like people in the locker room that I'm like, who is that? Who is that? So it was a really good learning experience for BC last night. And a lot of these stories I actually have been following, so it wasn't a totally new experience. It's not like I just haven't watched NXT in a long time. So a lot of it was familiar, but I'm just being as straight up as I always am with you guys. I was watching this show and I had to learn a lot, and it was really cool. But I'm doing all my homework to make Sunday's live stream, if I do call it, the very best for you guys. But my point is that it was so refreshing, man. You guys speak so highly of it, but it's just, you're just so dampered by Monday Night Raw, and your expectations can't really get high. And you guys know, if you saw the Raw review, how bad that was for BC, to the point where I had to switch it. During the main event, I had to just change the channel and get away from it. I was getting nauseous. You should, for something you love, you should not get nauseous by it. And Monday Night Raw, for the first time, I really had that feeling. And I've seen some bad shows. Horrible, with questionable calls, just outright horrendous calls, botches creatively and booking-wise. But last Monday night, I just got nauseous and I had to change it. I was just, you saw the review, how much I ripped it apart. And you go into Tuesday and you can't get too excited. It's just like I'm just down on wrestling at that point. And it became clear right from the jump that NXT just brought that love back instantly. This show was just fun, man. Whether you think it was great or not, or even good or not, eye of the beholder. What I saw last night was a fun wrestling show with progression. People that I cared about watching. I didn't change the channel once. This is the fucking biggest key for me, right? I kept it there during the commercials. I made sure my notes were vivid. You guys did not disappoint me in how highly you praise it. JR9 Gaming and so many of you guys, man. Big. I needed that coming off of Monday. So let's go over this, man. We kicked the show off. Valkyria defeats Cora Jade. This is the semifinals of the women's tournament for the new NXT Women's Champion to be crowned at Battleground. And guys, BC was thinking Cora Jade might be the one. Somebody like Tiffany Stratton or a Cora Jade. And now you guys might be going, well, Roxy is your girl, BC. And Roxanne Perez, I always call her Roxy. That's been her name since she started. And she's still Roxy to BC. So if I say Roxy, relax. You know who I'm talking about. It's Roxanne, BC. Roxy Perez. Roxy is my gal in NXT. My favorite, no doubt. And she is still in this tournament. Before last night started, we'll get to her match. But at this point, she's still in the tournament at the start of the show. And you guys are probably thinking you're going Roxy. That's your favorite. No. Opposite, guys. I felt from the beginning that Roxy did not need to win this title back. The way that her title reign ended, this will be, right? We use it in the wrong sense for Cody Rhodes night 2, right? This is where you could have your struggle, your adversity, and have side feuds and really build it up. There's no reason to shower Roxy with 2 title reigns in her first year. There's none. We know how exceptional she is. We know how good she is. You don't have to shower her with Charlotte Flair type title reigns and short ones, right? She loses it after a month and she gets it back in the tournament. And who knows? She gets called up. So she loses that one. She gets the WWE. We don't need titles constantly to tell us that somebody is special. Sometimes without a title makes you more special, right? Cody Rhodes' case, that's not the case. I'm always going to bring up WrestleMania Night 2 in that botch, man, because The Cody Rhodes situation with Roman, it's a great example what to and not do. When to utilize something, when not to utilize something. But with Roxy, there was no reason. As a massive Roxy fan, a Roxy supporter, I should say, right? As a critic, I can't really say fan, because then people will say that's biased. But no, absolutely not. And by the way, when I'm a fan of somebody, I'm usually extra hard on them, right? As I have been for Sasha Banks and Bray Wyatt. I'm a hard on them even more because I know what they're capable of and what they bring to the table. But for Roxy, I did not see from the jump her winning this tournament, like what that does for her. I think there's more to be gained without winning that title. And I truly felt, I told Jer9 Gaming and a lot of you guys that vividly watch NXT, I said, Tiffany Stratton, Cora, Jade makes sense to me. Or give it to a heel like Cora. You know, is she totally ready to rock the world with her skills? Not quite yet. You saw that again in this match with Valkyria. But, man, I mean, that's a character you can really latch onto and can do something with that title. And Tiffany Stratton is in a whole nother stratosphere. Tiffany Stratosphere. How's that? I cannot believe how good, and she makes it look so seamless. I'll get to that more in the main event, which was Roxy versus Tiffany Stratton, because as much as I'm a Roxy supporter, I'm going to speak so highly of Tiffany Stratton. I cannot believe this gal, and she's so seamless. You watch her matches, and at times you go, she just seems lazy. But it's not. She's just so good. It looks effortless. And the shit she's doing already. And she came out and said, Tiffany Stratton said, I'd rather not go to the main roster right now because I think I have a lot more to learn in NXT. I have to learn X and Y and Z and do my promos a little better and maybe a little bit more selling. And who speaks like that? It's fucking incredible, man. Real quick, I probably should cover this when I get to the main event with Tiffany Stratton. But recently, I came across this. Let me see if I can. Recently, she did this interview, and it was just so great, man. It was the Greg Gagne, who trained Tiffany Stratton. Says this. So it was Greg Gagne who did the interview about Stratton and how difficult it was to train her. And he says that she was a handful to train. And I quote from Greg Gagne about Tiffany Stratton and training her. She was a handful. A friend of mine asked me, I wasn't doing anything, would you train this girl? She wants to be a professional wrestler. She had a great background. She had 5 years with the U.S. gymnastics team, and she won first place. And then she went into bodybuilding, first place, set a record in her weightlifting class, and now she wanted to wrestle. I turned to her afterwards and said, what do you think of tonight? She says, I can do that. I said, no, you can't do that. What do you mean you think you can do that? She proceeds to argue until I finally let her do the move she wanted to do. So I just think that's her stubbornness to like always want to do what Greg Gagne is saying, not yet, or you should not be doing that. No, let me do that. A lot of times Greg Gagne said that she would actually like take breaks when they weren't supposed to take breaks. They wanted them to keep their cycle going with their training. And Tiffany would go like, no, I need a break or I'm going to walk out. Tiffany was a handful. She had to do it on her kind of... I don't want to make her sound like she was a brat, but a lot of Tiffany's training was a lot of like, this has to be a two-way street. I know what I'm worth. I know my capabilities. I know what I can bring to the table. I'm going to respect you, but you have to believe that I'm just not like everybody else. And that's hard for a trainer because you want all the other students to realize that you're just like everyone else. If I treat you any different, everyone else is going to be pissed off and start acting like I'm not in charge. It's going to be anarchy. Right? But somehow Greg Gagne made it work, probably saw the value and how good she truly was naturally. But I just felt that was funny. That Greg Gagne laughed and he said she was a handful. She was not easy to train. She always wanted to go and do her thing. Just interesting, man. Anyway, I should have waited for that story to the main event, but since we're starting off with one of the two semifinal ladies matches, I just wanted to give my take on this final four. Tiffany and Roxy later, Cora, Jade, Valkyria starting it off, and I really thought Cora Jade had this match. But no, Valkyria defeats Cora Jade. Straight up, 1, 2, 3, Cora Jade looking up at the lights. Post-match, this was good. Jade attacks the left leg of Valkyria, and it was perfectly executed and exactly what Cora needed, I felt. The match, it was ragged at times, but they pulled it together instantly, so it ended up coming together. The finish, I didn't know that much. I didn't do my due diligence too much on Valkyria before last night, and by the end of that match, I was like, okay, I'm invested in this woman. And you kind of forget about Cora Jade at that moment, but you do feel like, wow, that was it for Cora? No. Cora enters frame, takes the leg out. Literally like one of those shoulder tackles to the leg. And then takes like I forgot what it was, like a pipe or some shit. And she fucking takes out the leg again of Valkyria. So Cora Jade just starts screaming, "This was my title, my tournament. You took it away." I love it, guys. I love it. I'm like, this loss may have helped Cora Jade a bit more. Bigger than the title may have done for her. We'll see. But I love that post-match extracurricular activity. WWE tries this shit sometimes and it fails miserably. Executed so poorly that you either laugh at it or you just give a sigh. A sigh of disbelief that they could do it that badly. This was so beautifully done, man. And it sets up, if the winner of the main event, Roxy or Tiffany Stratton, we'll go over that. Don't want to spoil it yet, or maybe I already did. But they can now beat Valkyria, and she has an out. And you could set up that feud with Cora Jade to keep going forward. If done properly. I'm just setting that up and why I was pleased to see that. So, there you go. Valkyria is now going to Battleground to take on the winner of the main event, Tiffany Stratton versus Roxy. Good start. Liked it. Liked it. Got to learn a little bit more about Valkyria. Got to see Cora Jade, see where she's a little bit more rugged, where she needs to improve. I got to see a lot there, man. So I'll be much better off come Battleground if they decide to have Valkyria actually compete at any great length. Next up was Dabba-Kato, all 7'1" of this dude versus all 5'8" of Axiom. Literally, I think the dude's 5'8". 5'8" to 7'1". I don't know, man. But this dude did. I mean, he pulled out anything that you can get advantage-wise over a really big dude. Axiom actually tried to fucking do. As you might have guessed, Kato makes fairly quick work of Axiom, though. Axiom. My bad. Loved how post-match Dabba attacks Axiom again. Tell me, the viewer, this dude isn't just here for the W, right? That's... What more should we be invested by, right? If Dabba-Kato's just there to get a quick W and then leave, we're going to forget about that 6 seconds down the road. Or maybe if you blink, you already forgot about it. But Dabba-Kato beating Axiom and then post-match beating him up for no reason. He's 5'8". You already beat him up. He's no threat to you. And you just beat him up some more. Not only does that get people to boo you and say, what the fuck, you fucking bully. You bully. But it tells us subconsciously, this dude's not here just for W's. This dude is here to make a statement. I am a 7'1" monster. And don't even try me. Because I won't just pick up a W on you. I'll fucking end you. I like Dabba-Kato showing in this. Funny segment follows with Tony D'Angelo being investigated by a detective at the police station. Obviously, if you've been keeping up on NXT, you know why he's in a position to be arrested. And he got arrested, too. Later in the night, they went back to it, and Tony D'Angelo actually got arrested. Another detective comes in. He's like, can I go now? Are we good here? Can I go? What else do you need me to do? They tell him, we're done. You're not. We need you to stand up, put your hand behind your back. We're going to give you your rights. And he's like, I know my rights. What do I look like? Like, I don't know my rights? Like, he's been in this process before. And we see all this, by the way, it's through a security cam, so it makes it more realistic. It's not like this WWE NXT cameras in there, right? No, this is all through security cam footage. And Tony D's performance, honestly, would have made Tony Soprano proud. Tony D'Angelo was in rare form last night. And again, later on, they went back to the investigation room, and he was arrested. I like that, man. That's creativity in a storyline. And doing it the right way. You know, and putting effort into it. You know, that takes a lot. You got to get the actors in there to play the detectives. You got to get the camera angle like that. You got to get the police investigation room, right? Maybe that was right there in the locker room, obviously. But you got to make it like you're in a detective's fucking room of a police station. You spread it out over a couple different angles. This is the type of shit you need to see more of on the main roster. And done properly. Up next, the Creed brothers interrupt a Gallows Boys in-ring promo. I gotta tell you, BC loves the green lighting that Gallus has during their promo. It just turns to this green dim, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. Like, it's settling, you know? You can just ease into your chair, and it doesn't matter if the fucking Gallows Boys totally botched their promo. You're fucking in serenity at that point. It's fucking mental yoga. This nice green lit, man. That Scottish flavor of originality. Matching their plaid pants. These four solidified their match at Battleground, and then they just beat the shit out of each other anyway. You kind of knew that with Creed and Gallus. No harm, no foul. Again, the best thing out of that, I've already seen them kind of brawl, I believe anyway. So it wasn't anything extra special to BC. I just like the promos. I thought were good, the back and forth. Love the green lighting. It's an originality with Gallus. You know, you can coincide one with the other. You know, it kind of separates them from others. Liked it. Tyler Bate defeats Thorpe. Next up, post-match, Joe Gacy lays out Bate and Wes Lee, who was on commentary, I believe, at the time. Yes, he was. Kind of at a lot. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm not on board with Wes Lee like a lot of you guys. I understand he's got talent, but wow, every promo he cuts is so average, and it doesn't captivate me in the least. And the audience is like silent, negative decimals when he ends his promos, guys. I don't know about Wes Lee. There has to be more there for BC to latch onto other than he's a good wrestler, or even a really good wrestler. I just don't know what that title is doing for him or vice versa. But again, post-match, after Tyler Bate defeats Thorpe, Joe Gacy takes out Bate and Wes Lee, who entered the ring. And he didn't do Tyler Bate any favors, by the way, because after Gacy left, and by the way, Ava Raine was out there too. Simone Johnson, The Rock's daughter, she was out there, obviously attached with Joe Gacy and really loving what she was seeing by Gacy, man. Clearly praising Gacy's actions. So it was good to see Simone out there as well, Ava Raine. But once Gacy left, Bate was pissed off at Wes Lee. You didn't fucking do us any favors by getting in here, motherfucker. You actually helped fuck me up. So they're fucking bickering. I forgot if they took each other out or not. I forgot. I didn't put that in the notes. But I do remember Wes Lee and Bate were fucking bickering. So Gacy not only takes him out, but Gacy also caused the internal rift. In a case, if you guys don't know, this all sets up their triple threat title match at Battleground. Gacy, Bate, Wes Lee. So that's why that's important. That's why I'm spending an extra minute on that. It's because Joe Gacy's plan worked to perfection. Beat the shit out of them real quick. Both of them, right? Two birds with one stone. And then when you leave, they're fucking want to get at each other even more. If you're Joe Gacy, you made out like a bandit here. Nathan Frazier again, some of these names I'm not familiar with, or at least not vividly. So, I mean, it was a real eye-opening experience, and it was good, man. Nathan Frazier defeats Noam Dar via the Phoenix Splash. Now, I can't tell you when I see these two names pop up on my TV, on the big screen, and then and I see them before the bell rings facing each other. I can't tell you that Nathan Frazier versus Noam Dar is exciting, BC. But when it was all said and done, I'm like, fuck, that was good. Phoenix Splash, again, Nathan Frazier defeats Dar. I thought for sure Dar was going to get this because Dar has the future plans for Battleground and beyond. I didn't think Nathan Frazier was that big of a deal. And he's got his Heritage Cup out there, Noam Dar. So I thought for sure he's not going to just eat an L here. But no, it was actually refreshing to see Nathan Frazier, who is so fucking good, by the way. So good. I learned a lot about that motherfucker. Noam Dar was toying and basically fucking with Frazier for most of the match, which made this even more like a shocker at the end. And when I say Frazier was good, guys, Frazier delivered an insane, I'm not even doing it justice with that word. You could say phenomenal, out of this world, but it was just an insane springboard reverse DDT. Where he just literally springboards off the ropes almost like a Cody cutter is about to be performed. And he fucking flips totally 180s into a reverse DDT position and just takes out Noam Dar. I could not believe how fucking seamless, how flawless, how to perfection that move was. Now you could say, yeah, Noam Dar was in the right place, right time. But Frazier's got to hit that pristine. And it flowed. So I mean, that just catapulted BC to the edge of my seat, man. And again, Noam Dar fucking with him through the match is great in-character developmental through the match, right? It's very good. It's phenomenal character work for what your style is during the match, right? I mean, just fucking with Frazier as if he is this nobody that people like BC don't know much about. I could end this dude at any fucking time in this match. Submission, pin him, I'll throw him out and let him get counted out for 10 seconds just to embarrass him. But no, when it's all said and done, Frazier ignites himself with a fucking bottle of amplification, turns into lightning in a bottle, and ends up beating this dude. Anyway, I know you're like, BC, you're getting excited about a Noam Dar Frazier match? But what can I tell you, man? I went into the match totally like, this is where it's going to turn south, isn't it? No! The fucking heat on NXT turned up after that match for BC. Dijak and Dragunov, locker room brawl, masterfully done, and I just mean the production of it, because I've always not been so high on NXT's production as of late. Some of the way they set their stories up is too scripted, overly scripted, too soap opera-y, like the Fallon. Jensen, remember that whole soap opera thing they just recently had, and all of the camera angles just making it cheesy. The barroom brawl, I think that was with the Creeds and the Gallus boys, and they were in the bar, and all of the camera angles and all of their lines just seemed like they were so overly scripted, and I know NXT does that from time to time. This was the opposite. I love the interrogation of Tony D'Angelo earlier. This backstage locker room scene where, was it, man, who was being interviewed? I think it was Dragunov and Dijak came in, right? Or is Dijak being interviewed? Dragunov came in. Oh, I forgot now, man. I forgot who was initially being interviewed. It was short-lived because then the brawl was on. But my point is the way that the camera set up, you saw all of the other wrestlers, some of them not being able to get on the card. Maybe they wrestled before the NXT Live went on the air to the USA Network, but there's a lot of wrestlers that BC's not even familiar with. It felt like a locker room. They were all engaged, like vividly in conversation. It was almost like we're not there. The camera's not even there. It was really well done. And then before you know it, Dragunov and Dijak. It was a really quick segment, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about it because it's something that, as somebody who is a vivid critic of pro wrestling, and I just love dissecting pro wrestling, I loved that. Just everything about that, as short-lived as it was, I loved everything about that. And if you talk short-lived, the very next match, Hank Walker versus Tank Ledger. I just call it Hank versus Tank. I loved how that was set up last week when this tag team just is like, hey, if we're going to be a big tag team, hopefully in the future, they're just like, hey, maybe we should wrestle each other. You know, maybe that's how we're going to get a better bond. And it's almost like two knuckleheads. It's like there's no reason to fucking... But it captivated BC's interest. I'm like, I kind of want to see that match now. Unfortunately, it was short-lived. There's not much I can talk about in this match. Walker just takes the quick W, and I do mean quick. So you got Hank defeating Tank. I literally... God, I forgot what I did. I think I got one of my clearly Canadian drinks. If you have never had a clearly Canadian, man, wow. I'll talk about that in the future because I just got a whole pallet of it. It's a long story. I went up to get a quick drink, not even a coffee, just a quick refrigerator drink. I came back and the match was basically done. I was kind of bummed out, man. I don't know why. I was looking forward to Hank versus Tank. Anyway, guys, we go into Gigi Dolan versus JC Jane, or not versus. It's a back and forth promo. Gigi is in the ring. And JC Jane is up on the platform where Toxic Attraction has spent many segments. And Gigi, and I did not know this beforehand. I've heard her on the mic before. I didn't, or maybe she was just on another level last night or just really feeling it. But Gigi Dolan last night, I was hanging on every word. Just the way she was going back and forth. JC is playing the ultimate heel, right? Just that bitch, right? Just that bitch. The facial expressions, the way she's talking down to Gigi. It's like, but Gigi would fucking match her. Gigi would literally match her. She was like, oh, that's right. You couldn't do it without 8 stitches in your face. The way she delivered the line. With eight stitches in your face. She just had that gusto, man, that sass. I became a Gigi fan because I wasn't necessarily before. I liked her, obviously, and I like what she's packing in the behind, if you know what I'm talking about. But man, the way she was delivering her lines last night, I was like, I love this gal, man. This is badass. And JC, of course, match her. JC's just really good naturally anyway. That I already knew. I learned more about Gigi last night on that. And then what it led to. Listen to this, man. You talk about being pumped up for something. Because this has so much potential. The whole back and forth, because this has been long, I almost said months long in the making, this feud. But guys, this goes back to Toxic Attraction when they were in the group with Mandy Rose. This has been long in the making. Guys, they set up last night a weaponized steel cage match. I believe not for Battleground. I believe what I took from this is it's going to be next week on TV. So if you guys are not going to be able to watch Battleground on Sunday night, you're going to be able to watch Tuesday night this match. I believe it is not on Battleground. It is on Tuesday night NXT next week. It is a weaponized steel cage match. And basically, it's absolute anarchy in the cage. Old school Ambrose Jericho, if you remember that. But it has so much potential to be up there with the Rosa Britt Baker AEW lights out type matches, where it brought people over to women's wrestling in a way we really haven't seen before. And that's giving Rosa credit, by the way. I'm really hard on Thunder Rosa a lot because I feel she does not sell properly or as she knows she should be. And I think there's just so many holes in Thunder Rosa's game. And her attitude is not always the best. So I come down hard on Rosa. But I do know there is capability there of putting on some phenomenal work. Well, lights out with Britt Baker, it made all of us go, wow, that was actually cool. That was special. I truly feel, even though a lot of critics, and by that I mean a lot of people with 140 characters, a lot of fans, were not too happy with the first run-ins with the JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, this could be exactly what the doc ordered. This could be exactly what is needed for Gigi and JC to really make people turn their heads over to NXT and go, wow, that was special. If they do this properly, and I hope USA Network allows them to do some shit, this could be a match that we are all talking about for a long time to come. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, if they decide to go all out creatively and physically, if they decide to do the deed next Tuesday, they could put their names on the map forever. For people that even don't know about them, don't watch NXT, don't know much about them, they could stamp their names into everybody's mindset going forward. They could literally give everybody their calling card in one match. That's how big this weaponized steel cage match is. This is, if you're JC Jane or Gigi Dolan, you're excited, you're nervous, you're going through all the feels over the next 6 nights because this is your moment that you have worked so long for. This is it. This is their biggest match of their careers. I'm saying it. Because this is the one match where everybody, people that don't even watch NXT, people that don't even watch the main roster anymore, you could actually get their attention. I love that. When they announced Steel Cage, I was like, fuck yeah. When they said weaponized, I started thinking Lights Out, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa. Now, if you're laughing and you're going, basically, it's not going to be anything like that. Relax. First of all, it's USA Network. And it's, Tony Khan gave him the world. You laugh all you want, I understand. I'm not even saying it's got to reach that. I'm saying it could be in that discussion if done properly. I truly have that much faith in GG and JC. Be interesting to see. But JR9 Gaming, your girl's got the biggest one, I feel, next week, man. I truly feel this is a calling card. I hope it's done properly. There's a lot of room to fail at this as well. Wow, did I love. That was one of the segments last night that just captivated me to another level. Weaponized steel cage match. Also, look, you want to hear something funny? If you've been following my Raw reviews, I said the last 2 weeks I've only had 1 page of notes for 3 hours of show. Usually, bare minimum, I have a full page for a full hour. So I have at least 3 full pages every Raw review of my notes. NXT, which I am not able to watch faithfully, not every Tuesday. I can't do it. Not even not faithfully. I just can't even watch consistently, unfortunately. Last night, 2 full pages of notes for NXT. Yep. Tells you how much I was enjoying that, or how much there was at least to talk about. A Monday Night Raw, 3 hours, 1 fucking page the last 2 weeks. Because there was a main event, and then there was also a post segment. So the main event didn't actually end the show. So I literally leaked into a full another page. The main event was my gal, Roxy, versus somebody else that I'm really high on. Is not far off from being one of my gals, Tiffany Stratton, who I call Tiffany Stratosphere because she's in another fucking stratosphere. This was the main event, women's semifinal match to crown a new NXT Women's Champion. Of course, that strap, that championship title was taken off of Roxy, and we still are confused, man. After her match with Satomura, she collapses. She's no longer champion, basically. Then Indy Hartwell wins the championship in the ladder match, and Indy Hartwell gets injured, then simultaneously drafted over to Monday Night Raw, or WWE, to get back with fucking Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, minus an Austin Theory. But my point is that title it hasn't found a permanent home in recent months. So they're doing this tournament. We have reached the semifinals earlier in the night to start the show. Valkyria defeated Cora Jade. She's going to the finals with 1 good leg. Because Cora Jade took that leg out post-match, her left leg. So, main event now to see who Valkyria is going to be taking on at Battleground for the championship. Again, this is Roxanne Perez versus Tiffany Stratton. This was a good match. So much fun. I never got bored with this match. More importantly for BC, I think that's what it was. It was just fun. Great chemistry, I felt. The whole match, I truly thought, it's to the point where I put this in my notes, man, I truly thought that Stratton was wrestling right out of her top. The entire match, it looked like her girls were, it looked like those bitches were like, let me out of here, get me out. Those girls just wanted out, man. And Tiffany Stratton is beautiful, guys. I understand her talent, but that is just grade A beauty. Front, back, everything about Tiffany Stratton's just next level. So, like, as much as the match was so good, and I got my girl Roxy in there, and I'm watching this totally performance-based, trust me, I'm also like, well, fuck, any moment now we're going to see the dreaded black screen. You guys know when they finally come out of their top and the black screen comes up because they're on a 7-second delay. And then when we come back, the camera's nowhere on them because the ref is trying to tell her to put her top. Well, eventually, in fact, at one point we did get the dreaded black screen. I knew she was going to come out of that thing, man. It took a while toward the end of the match. Finally, we get the black screen. She accidentally comes out of her top. When we come back off of the black screen, the camera is fully focused on just Roxy. You can see the referee talking to Tiffany. It's a little bit up when we go back to Tiffany, but not fully. So that was a problem throughout the match. Not a problem if you're BC or a viewer, but for Tiffany and the referee and Shawn Michaels, who's a Christian man backstage. Anyway, I thought that was a little bit of fun during the match. I figured I'd speak on that for a minute because damn did those girls want out. But Stratton was just firing on all cylinders last night. And she connects with her masterclass moonsault. That's what I personally call that because it is a masterclass on how to do a moonsault. And she literally springboards herself into the fucking moonsault and always lands right into a pinning position. I can't tell you how perfect this moonsault is. And she pins 1, 2, 3. She pins Roxy. Middle of the ring, looking up at the lights. Stratton advances to the finals to take on Valkyria. An injured Valkyria, by the way. A one-legged Val. A one-legged Val going up against Tiffany Stratosphere because she's going to the next Stratosphere. I truly believe this is her title to win, especially with the injury to Valkyria. Post-match, a mystery woman attacks Roxy. This is the same mystery person from before. I'm intrigued by this, and this is exactly what I was telling you guys, man. I love this. Set up a post-feud for Roxy. Just because Roxy's not going for a title does not mean you don't give her masterclass feuds and storylines. What a concept. Let her rock out, not with the title. I'm totally fine. In fact, that's how I would book this shit, not having my favorite Roxy win that title or this match to go to the final to win the title. Nope, I would have had Tiffany Stratton. Love it. And I think they were in a rock and a hard place, right? Maybe they wanted Cora Jade and Tiffany, but they were like, no, that doesn't really work, you know, with that heel status. So maybe that's why they said, okay, let's just have Val go in there. Val will save face because she'll go in there with one leg. Tiffany will still get this title. Loved it, guys. Loved the main event for so many reasons. This is already one of the longest podcasts we've had in a while. Straight podcast form, not live stream. But a straight, pre-recorded, amped-up podcast. This is going a bit longer, so... but I could easily speak another 30 minutes easily on that main event. Loved Roxy, Tiffany Stratton. That match just captivated me anywhere, where I told my unit I was going to watch that match live. I was just going to. That's how good that is on paper to BC. It ended up being even better in the ring. I wouldn't mind seeing them many more times in the future. Look at that. Rematches I would actually want to see. The show ends with Dijak and Dragunov taking their locker room battle outside, man. Dijak comes out. Dragunov jumps him. And they're literally just fucking one another up. That's what I literally put in my notes. That's exactly how I remember it. They just were fucking each other up from the jump. Dijak connected with a big boot that made Bisa go, damn! BC literally went, damn, this boot caught flesh onto Dragunov, man. Dijak just laid into this dude. And then Dragunov with a flying Superman punch while Dijak was already on the mat. Fucking brilliant. So picture it. Dijak is laying down on the mat, on the outside mat, because he's getting fucked up. Maybe he got steel steps to it, I forget. And then Dragunov launches himself either off the steel steps or the commentary. I forgot where he launched himself. But it was a Superman punch to a Dijak that was already flattened on the outside. So the Superman punch landed to the face of an already knocked out Dijak. And he laid into the motherfucker. I can't even tell you guys. I literally fucking like bounced up after that. I was like, damn! Now that's what you want to see. That type of believability and realism. That Dragunov Superman, that was fucking phenomenal. It's the best Superman punch I've ever seen. Sorry, Orange Juice Cassidy, and not so sorry to Roman Reigns and the 1,000 Superman punches that he's done. This one was fucking next level, bro. And of course, this is leading to their last man standing match at Battleground. And then we go off the air with a great pump-up package hyping up Battleground in Lowell, Massachusetts this Sunday night. And that ends NXT for 5/23/23, May 23rd, 2023. Can you tell BC enjoyed that show? That 2 hours flew by. Didn't feel like I needed to take a fucking a long-induced sleep coma during it. I didn't feel like I had to change the channel. I didn't feel angry at the show. I didn't feel frustrated. I didn't feel nauseated. It flew by with so much fun shit and matches to look forward to. Matches that were proved to be better in ring than even on paper. And stories that are set up the right way and that you can actually look forward to, man. Characters being developed. Just more right than wrong, more good than bad, I guess is what I'm saying. That's all I ever ask for on the main roster, man. I had to go to Tuesday nights to get that. Anyway, there's a good chance I can do this live on Sunday. It all hinges on how the rest of the week goes and how the live stream on Saturday goes for WWE main roster's Night of Champions. I hope to be live with you guys for that. This has been one. I told you. I tried to tell you at the jump of this whole shebang that this is going to be packed, stacked, and jacked. I don't bullshit. Much love and respect, guys. That's where we're going to leave it for now. Until next time. And there will be a next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying check you. Peace.